Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another One Piece manga review. We are here reviewing chapter 1019, Hella Seraptops. And my name is Lyndon Burton, joined by my co-host, as always, Mr. Christian Hollinger. Glad to be back. Week off. We didn't put any video out last week. We're just chilling. Not too much things happened in that last chapter. But as we predicted, the fights continue. But before we get to any of that, how you doing, sir?
Doing very well, very well.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Yeah, and like I was saying, we kind of predicted what happened this week.
Yeah. And again, I've said this in previous reviews. I am still just amazed at the pacing of the anime and the manga. You know, in subsequent weeks, we got Jinbei versus Who's Who. And at the same time, Jinbei's introduction in the anime has been very heartwarming. And it has to be intentional that these kind of things happen like that.
The anime's been dropping movie quality episodes, like the Jinbei, like doing the toast with the crew, the queen, where all of them are partying inside. I was like, whoa, this looks like film gold or Z. Like, this looks incredible. And I was just shocked. And then we see Onigashima for the first time. Looks great. The anime's doing a really good job right now.
Phenomenal.
Roof Piece is gonna be nuts in the anime.
I mean, a quick sidebar on that. You know, this last anime episode, I was actually amused because, you know, I'm realizing that you're gonna have to definitely watch Wano with a certain grain of salt, because it's like Wano definitely has this exaggerated filter going on. I'm not trying to downplay here, but like, all right, so Usopp snipes the Kaido lookouts and makes them go back to sleep, right? Now, it might just be me, but they gave like this whole shockwave effect when Usopp like shot, and we've seen him do this before. So it's like, okay, am I like, as a power scaler meathead, I'm reading that as like, did he just like break the sound barrier to like snipe these people? Like, what's going on here?
Nah, it's just a normal snipe. Just Usopp
it's just a normal snipe, but like they made it look like almost in-game shit. Like Usopp's breaking the sound barrier with his ammunition. I'm like, yo,
that made me laugh.
Okay, and like if Usopp's doing this, you know, I absolutely love Luffy's Red Hawk, but they gave him a fucking son.
Yeah, they did. They did. Like, that's why I'm like, Roof Piece is gonna be nuts. Like, can you imagine the scene where Kaido looks at Luffy and sees all the different people in the, or when Zorro blocks the major?
Dude, if that's a Red Hawk, what in the world is Red Rock, bro?
That's a good point. We really won't know what Red Rock is if it's a delineation of Red Hawk or not from the anime. The anime will not tell us what that is.
They are just hitting us over on the nose, Sun God, and then Luffy uses a Red Hawk and they give him a son.
Yeah.
Okay, so Roof Piece is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, Roof Piece is gonna be nuts. That's gonna be absolutely insane. And we're kind of far, but we're not that far. Like, I think maybe by December. That might be me pushing it. Maybe by January, February, definitely by March next year, we should be at Roof Piece.
I mean, yeah, definitely, yeah. It depends on how much
breaks we
embellishes.
Get. Yeah, that's
and I think they're doing a very good job of interpreting the manga, bringing movie quality, and then expounding on some of the things that aren't made clear in the manga because Oda's having to juggle so many different moving pieces. But yeah, just it's a really amazing experience.
100%. Well, let's get into the chapter. Real quick, I give a brief summary, and then me and Christian dive from the beginning and talk about all the themes and things we like in this chapter. So basically, this chapter starts off with Queen and Sanji doing some blasts, just going over. Sanji's dodging it, saying how Franky would love this laser tech. We then see Zorro getting his shot to get him out of these bandages and get him back going. We then see Luffy on the ship saying he needs meat, so to get him back going, they're popping up at the same time. We then, after that, goes straight to Franky versus Sasaki, a battle. We'll discuss more about the battle when we get into it, but Franky versus Sasaki happens. And then basically the chapter ends with us seeing Yamato's hybrid form. We don't know the devil fruit's name, but we see Yamato's hybrid form, and we find out that Kaido never intended to give her the devil fruit. She just ate it, and he was like, I can't call myself Odin if I don't beat you or at least help. And that's how the chapter ends.
Yep.
So where would you like to begin? Is straight in the beginning?
Straight at the beginning. And it's
great cover art.
Yeah, I mean, the cover art is absolutely beautiful. Is this the first official one we got with Jinbei?
With Jinbei, yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely beautiful. I can't wait for the vivid imagery we're going to be getting after this as well, because again, you go back to Whole Cake, you remember when Jinbei was surfing a freaking tidal wave. Again, if you watch the anime, you already notice a difference in the way that the Sunny moves within the ocean with Jinbei as the helmsman. So I'm really, really impressed with that. Love this artwork. We also know that, this is making Luffy's crew resemble the Pirate King's crew a little bit more, because he also had a giant fishman.
He did. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, Jinbei, has been a long time in the running recruit. So I'm very happy about that. And this artwork is absolutely beautiful.
That's a fact.
Yes, Robin and Nami are looking delectable. My God.
This guy. No, but I'm with him. But I will say, chapter starts off, little Sanji action. Oda's saving it. Let's just do this now. Sanji better get at least 2 chapters minimum with his fight with Queen. It can't be Jinbei, Sasaki, and poor Sasaki and Franky only got 3/4 of a chapter, because the first fourth, like one of those fourth is for Kaido and Yamato, and then I'll say you split it with the beginning with Zorro and Luffy, but they didn't even get a full chapter to themselves. At least Jinbei got 2 weeks worth of stuff. Got to give Jinbei and Who's Who a little bit. Sasaki got 1 week worth of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell that there's a hierarchy of importance here. Jinbei, has been a quote-unquote Straw Hat for a while now. He's been very important, but he's been off-screen. We didn't know what he was doing in Whole Cake. So when he comes back, Oda has to put some more focus on him. So he's also fighting an opponent who seems to be more important than Sasaki, who was the one who was pushing that narrative for I'm a Tobiropo, but I want to be a commander. Sasaki was kind of the echoing voice of that sentiment. Who's Who is the CP0 member, so he has importance beyond Kaido, beyond the Straw Hats. But then he also is the only one of the Tobiropo who has personal beef with Luffy, which I believe made it more personal for Jinbei. So there's the definite hierarchy here, especially also when you deal with portrayal. When people think of Franky in the New World, most people think of Senior Pink, and that fight is highly, highly regarded.
He did already get a big fight like that. That is a good point.
And he's not as big of a character as Sanji, Luffy, and Zorro when it comes to
double down on your point about how we got backstory about Who's Who. He was hyping up Who's Who. Let's not act like Queen and Sanji don't have that with Queen's connection to Judge and everything that's been brought up from the beginning. There's no way Oda's not gonna touch on that at all. There's no way.
And to that point, we're also getting, once again, Franky's going to become relevant. We're talking about technology. Pretty much the first page is referring to Sanji saying Franky would love to get his hands on this tech. So if Franky has more of a minor role, he's taking out Sasaki, then Oda's already accomplishing the narrative that I was hoping he would, which is that the Straw Hats are definitely making leaps and bounds forward.
And getting power-ups, because that means that Queen's lasers are going to end up being Franky's power-up.
And this also, again, makes sense power scaling-wise, because, okay, if we say at a standard level, of course, we were talking about this off-air, you can highball dopamine a little bit higher. But if you say, okay, Doflamingo was about a Yonko Commander 4 because he was the Jack in the King Queen. He was the Joker in the card system of the King Queen Jack Joker scenario. Then you know that Joker then had his commanders Virgo, Pika, and Trouble, and Diamante.
Mm-hmm.
And then Senior Pink is then beneath one of those commanders.
Yep.
So you have that hierarchy. So Frankie's last big fight is Senior Pink. Now he's, with the Toby Ropo. So again, Doflamingo should be stronger than all of the Toby Ropo. But when you think about, okay, well, if we're saying Doflamingo's a Yonko Commander 4, he's beneath the other 3 commanders, which puts him somewhere where Who's Who and Sasaki is, because they're somewhere in between generic Toby Ropo level and commander level, which means that Franky went from just under, supposed Toby Ropo level to now beating down a top tier Toby Ropo.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily say Sasaki is a Yonko Commander in the sense of like a Yonko Commander 1 or 2. You can highball and maybe make an argument for Yonko Commander 3 and 4. But with that being said, that's saying Frankie's approaching, or he may be,
getting there. Like, I don't think Franky could be Doflamingo yet, but he's gonna be there at some point.
He's getting there, and Oda's making that groundwork evident. Whereas Jinbei, I believe, he's been getting decent portrayals. So I would say Who's Who is above Sasaki at this point. And Jinbei has shown that he's a decent chunk above Who's Who.
And you got to think Jinbei and Doflamingo had the same title. So, like...
They had the same title. And we see Jinbei's beating down other warlords pretty casually, like he did Moria. Mihawk got the better of him, but he did clash barehanded with Yoru during Marineford.
And so he tanked some Big Mom attacks.
Big Mom, yeah. So...
And escaped from Big Mom. Like, that's a feat for Jinbei. Like, him and his crew dipped out from under Big Mom in rage mode. Even though I still think his crew might have died. But if they didn't, that's even more of a feat for Jinbei.
Right. So I don't think it's too bad that Franky and Sasaki isn't going to get too much more focus. Because I think that we're still going to get some Franky tangent action with Sanji and Queen, as we see on this first page. So that's really interesting. We also get some foreshadowing per se to Kizaru versus Sanji, because again, these laser beams look very similar because laser beams are pretty much always drawn.
I didn't even think about that. I like that. Yeah. There you go.
So this is looking really good.
Sanji not even breathing hard. Sanji has no real marks. Sanji's like, yeah, bro, I'm smiling.
He's got some marks. If you look at the panel where he's saying Franky would love to get his hands on,
he does. But I'm gonna chalk that up to being like those marks when he was tortured. I'm not gonna,
right.
My guy looks. He definitely has a smile on. Yeah, he's not breathing heavy. Exactly. He's
looking like this is an opportunity to loot and pillage your technology to give to my friend to help us get stronger.
We about to whoop your ass. I dig it.
Yeah. So that's looking really good. Of course, we get our little bit of Zorro action.
Your man.
First, I thought Zorro was scared of needles, but I don't think that's necessarily the case here. But this doctor is pretty funny. I don't know why they're not taking the bandages off first.
He's like, F this, bro. He's just going to get you ready, get you right. Time to go.
Right.
Now, let me ask you this. I asked you this off air. I think the fans need to be asked this as well. Okay. I think you need to give your point as a One Piece coverer, and going forward, they need to know where you stand. So I asked him this off air to get his take. A lot of the One Piece community is thinking that Zoro's getting up to go fight King. Christian has on this show since we've begun, Zoro's not fighting King. So I want to ask you, your man's getting up. He's getting ready to go fight. Is he going to fight King? Is he going to fight Kaido?
He's going to fight Kaido. And I'm going to try and keep my points concise. So first, I'm going to start this off with some parallels within the chapter review. So without going too much further, literally, if you just swipe the page, in the same portion of the page, you see Luffy and Zorro essentially making the same exact mannerism here. They're both yelling with their mouths wide open. Now, of course, I'm not trying to be some, nitpicker who's saying like, oh my God, parallels everywhere. But the point here is that Luffy and Zorro were both effectively knocked off the roof and are now recovering around the same speed. Some other points. Marco is up against King right now. King makes a good match story-wise based off of characteristics with three people, Sanji, Zorro, and Marco. Right now, Sanji's got his matchup. Marco has a matchup that makes sense. I don't believe this makes sense for Zorro. Main reasons, the most potent one, in me and Lynn's opinion, is because Zorro was conscious to hear that Luffy lost to Kaido. And after that, Zorro's had a heightened sense of urgency that says, I got to get back up. It doesn't matter if I can't fight now. It doesn't make sense for Zorro to hear that, then get up and be like, I got to fight King.
To me, ladies and gents, that's the best argument he gave me, and I'm with it, because, that's a great point. Why would he get up to go fight King? What does that solve? That fixes no one's situation. You're not going to say it like that to go fight King. It has to be Kaido, and I thought that was the best argument, and I love that one.
And the supporting arguments, again, okay, I'm not Oda, but you have Kaido versus the Supernovas in basically two parts. The original top 5 Supernova versus Kaido. Kaido beats them. Then obviously we know Luffy's going back, so there's going to be a part 2. It wouldn't make sense to have Zorro versus Kaido in part 1 and not have it in part 2. That's de-escalating conflict and I guess entertainment value. Also, any and everything that King has to offer, Zorro's already gotten at a higher level on the roof. He's already cut Prometheus and Borrow Breath, so any kind of flames that King produces, it's not interesting anymore. Zorro fought Kaido. Kaido's already a flying enemy. So King being a flying enemy is no longer interesting. Zorro fought against Big Mom, although granted it wasn't necessarily a sword fight and it was more so Prometheus, but he did clash with Kaido in his club. So I don't really see a hockey-infused weapon fight with King offering anything that Roof Piece hasn't already given us. So from a storyboard perspective, it makes no sense for Zorro to go in reverse to fight King. Even if you want to make the argument that Zorro's goal is to be the world's strongest swordsman, King is effectively the strongest swordsman on the opponent side, not counting Big Mom. But that doesn't make sense because Zorro also claimed he's here to fight the strongest creature. So with all that said, there's no way Zorro's going to fight King.
That's our stance on this show. We're taking it. I'm with him. I'm rocking out with my guy. If we're wrong, we're wrong, but that's where we're rocking. Yep. And I think we're going to be right. So who knows? We're going to see. It's again, at the end of the day, it's our headcanon, but that's how we feel. Let us know how you feel. Is Zorro fighting King? Is Zorro fighting Kaido? Let us know in the comments below. But then after that, we see the same thing with Luffy. Luffy's like, I need to eat meat. My guy's getting up. It's time. Time for him to go fight Kaido.
Yeah, I've been seeing some slander on Law's crew. Law's been carrying this crew very hard.
You right.
These people don't know
how to do shit.
Mediocre, I would say, medical skills. They knew to pump the water out of him. I'm sure some of them probably know CPR and some other things, but I doubt they know anything beyond first aid. And I think they even mentioned that they would know first aid, but that's about it. So it seems Law is the primary combatant and the primary doctor of his own crew. So they're definitely being carried right now.
It just looks like my boy Law has the worst crew out of the 3, him, Luffy, and Kid.
Because he's the most broken.
Yeah, true. That's exactly what it is. Jean Bart's the only person, is Beppo of us? Who would Beppo fight would Beppo have to fight Killer and Zorro? He'd get his ass whooped.
Hey, no, I've actually thought, I've said this before. When I saw Jinbei join Luffy, I said, unironically, I think the Straw Hats could literally match up against Law and Kid crew combined. Like you combine their crew together, and the Straw Hats match up with that combined crew. Like you could say, okay, Luffy versus Kid, Zorro versus Law, Sanji versus Killer,
or Jinbei versus Killer,
or Jinbei versus Killer. Then like,
and then you can even do Sanji and Zorro versus Law, Jinbei versus Killer, and it still works.
Still, I mean, like, then their next best people are like Heat and Wire. So it's
or
like
Beppo and Jean Bart.
Brooke is.
I'm taking Frankie and Brooke in that situation, and I'm taking Robin, and I'm taking upgraded Chopper who bitch slapped Queen.
Chopper is taking on freaking Beppo in Sulong. Like, come on, man.
Let's go.
Come on, man. Like, it's not even fair. And if Yamato is really about to be it's not fair. It's not. I mean, literally, at that point, the Straw Hats are multiple supernova crews. I mean, again, I always, rub my Zorro tartness in there, but if we're going to be legitimate and just be fair, Sanji should be a supernova power scaling wise. I believe Sanji could beat Hawkins. I believe Sanji could beat Eroge. I think we were going to see that on Zoe if it wasn't for Big Mom blackmailing Sanji. I think that's why Sanji gave up. Otherwise, he would have beat Pedro and Eroge. Not Eroge.
Beige.
Yeah, thank you. So I've got Sanji over some of the other supernovas. So if we're being real, you've got Jinbei is a warlord. I've got Sanji on the supernova level. Zoro's a supernova. Luffy's a supernova. If the world knew about Yamato and she actually set out, she'd be a supernova. It's just not fair.
That's a fact.
Other supernova crews have outside of Blackbeard would have to join together to
come close. Yeah,
to come close, and then that's not even counting the role players. Like Law doesn't really have role players. Usopp is not even considered top tier, and
Usopp taking out Sachi and Penguin, dog. I'm with it. I am with it.
You can say Usopp could take out Beppo. Like his weapon arsenal and his intelligence. Remember, Usopp actually like damaged Luffy, who he had no business. Like, so we're underestimating Usopp. Usopp by himself could probably solo Law's crew if we're highballing him. Like, if we're really high, like Sogi King, he's pissed off. He could probably beat everybody in Law's crew minus Law. If we're being real, Nami with Zeus solos Law's crew.
I was just about to say Zeus Nami. Zeus is
Brooke, especially the way that he's looking in the anime, he looks like Aokiji at this point. They gave him Rukia's Bankai. I'm sorry, not Rukia's Bankai, Rukia's Shikai. So Brooke is soloing Law's crew. Robin, if she gets pissed off and makes Gigantes Mano, what are they doing against giant? Like, honestly, what are they doing against giant arms?
I don't know.
Franky with his radical beam solos Law's crew. Like, Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji can take a nap, and it's still tough. Like, Law versus Jinbei is not an easy win for Law.
That is not.
So
that's a fact.
I'm still giving the win to Law, but that's not an easy win for Law, which means you take out the top 3 out of the Straw Hats, and you still have an argument.
That's insane. No, yeah, Law's crew looking like some chumps, and don't let the Grand Fleet be there.
None of the other supernovas have a Grand Fleet. Like, I really would love to see Kid and Law knows. Okay, I forgot. Law's very aware. Yeah. Okay.
That's why when Law saw Jinbei, he was like, "What the fuck?" Kid is not aware.
Kid's not aware. I'd love to see Kid's face if we're getting way off track, but like whenever the samurai were showing up if like Luffy was like, "Oh yeah, I also called my entire fleet," and Kid's like, "You're what?"
Yeah,
It's like,
that'd have
"Oh
been
yeah,
awesome.
were you not aware? I have like 5,000 people underneath me. Oh yeah, one of them is Dongqing Chao. I have a conqueror under me. Sai, I believe, has Conqueror's Hockey based off of Dongqing Chao. He's like, oh yeah, I got Conqueror's Hockey users over here. We got Hakuba, who like might be a sword demon. We got
Facts.
the barrier fruit,
Yeah, we
which is
got
relevant to
Barlowman.
Wano.
Yep.
Like,
Facts. Straw Hats are tough, man. And hey, it's okay we diverge. This chapter's not too much going on in this chapter. We're giving the people content because all that's left is
yeah,
Franky versus Sasaki. It was a cool fight. To me, it wasn't better than Jinbei versus Who's Who.
no, I mean, it's good also because it was a good blend for Frankie. Frankie is a humorous character. So even though he can make fights, especially, the one with Senior Pink, which, I still think it's his best fight, it was hilarious and somber at the same time. So you look at this fight, it's serious, but it's also funny at the same time. You have Frankie who's calling the Kaido deserters his pals and friends now, even though he knows that this is manufactured and it's just an effect. He already cares about them when they're getting hurt, which is typical Frankie manliness.
Classic Frankie.
It's just classic.
But Frankie scarred Sasaki like he's Zorro or some shit, bro. I was like, whoa.
Right.
Frankie.
I mean, put a whole, V on this dude's chest. And I do appreciate the difference in translations because the unofficial made it sound like Frankie had a desire to be better at swordsmanship. And it's like, well, I mean, you're on the ship with Zorro. Why don't you train with him? This one's not, it didn't feel so much like Frankie cares about being a swordsman. He was more disappointed. He's like, well, my sword skills aren't that great. And then obviously the blade, General Frankie's blade ends up breaking at some point.
Yep.
But I did appreciate the subtle difference between the official and the unofficial from that perspective. But yeah, I mean, you get the unexpected creativeness of Oda by having Sasaki being able to fly with that Triceratops headpiece or whatever you call it.
Didn't see that coming.
Did not see that coming. That was very creative. But I also like the easy to understand lore where Frankie is like, it doesn't matter how strong you are, the belly is always a weakness. As you can see, that scar is still bleeding. Sasaki's sword, I really want to see that animated because I don't necessarily understand how
what it's doing,
how it's working, because it looks like a thin blade, but it's like, so then what's the rotating mechanism if it's I don't understand how it works. So I'm hoping the anime,
I feel like it's just a drill.
Yeah, it's a drill, but okay, so how a sword is thin, right? And a drill has some three-dimensional girth to it. So it's like, does his blade have a spine, so to speak, that spins? Or is it truly just this flat blade that somehow rotates? I don't necessarily
understand.
Okay, so
the way that I'm seeing it is the blade is flat. He does something, it uplifts other blades, and then once that happens, the blade itself starts to rotate.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I already made a Bleach reference, so I was like, is this like Zabimaru in the way that it works? I don't necessarily know. So,
but it was looking like an energy sword at one point.
Right. So I am interested to see, how that'll, be visualized in the anime. But again, it was very interesting. There was a scene that when I was rereading in the official, it looks like Sasaki was blushing. And that was whenever he went in reverse, so to speak. He goes, runway space acquired. And it looks like Sasaki is blushing. And then Frankie's like, liar. So I don't know. Do you think that Sasaki really needed runway space? Or do you think that was legitimately an accident and Frankie called him out on it? And he was just like, oh. Yeah, no.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, I don't think he did that on purpose. Not at all.
Okay.
But I do like how he shot out like a bullet and then Frankie suplexed him. Love
Yeah.
that.
So just because people have been talking reckless, I gotta talk reckless again. Frankie and his suplex is better than Punk Gibson.
Oh, shit.
Frankie's doing Kid better than Kid does Kid.
Oh, shit.
Punk Gibson ain't shit.
Yo,
man.
Punk Gibson might be weak, bro. Punk Gibson might not be the best wrestling move in One Piece. That's a fact. Yo.
Come on, man. How you gonna have Frankie steal Kid's signature move? People talking about Kid's finally shining, and you got Frankie doing the.
That's
Hey,
why
man,
that's why Kid in Law versus Big Mom is so important. It's so important.
I mean, look, I want to like Kid just because pre-time skip he had. It's weird to say showings. He had all the non-verbal things that told you he's supposed to be on Luffy's level.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited to see it if it happens, but I really think Kid's getting punked right now. Like to have, I know Frankie, you know, he's done this before. It's nothing new.
But I know what you're saying. Like, and we just saw Kid's special move is just a Frankie suplex. Yo,
I mean,
I need to see more than some wrestling moves from Kid. Now you're right. You're right. That's a fact, bro. I need to see some electric, magnetic, like shock waves. I need to see something.
Very soon. Very, very soon. So I don't know. That Frankie suplex was pretty interesting, but again, I love the subtle nod that I think that Oda used here, where I think Frankie legitimately thought a couple of steps ahead. He knew that General Frankie wasn't going to hold out against Sasaki for too long. So, you know, again, we after that suplex, we get the V for victory slash, but he's not that great with blades. That sword swing was probably slow, allowing Sasaki to counter through that. Breaks the blade.
Then we get the Gao cannon.
We get a very good back and forth too. You know, there's a moment where Frankie seems like he's up, then who seems like he can counter, and Frankie counters. So I definitely like that. And again, you know, I love to speak on this. I feel like the anime is going to make this really, really good with the tension, the music, because again, it goes back and forth. We get a good ebb and flow in this chapter. So yeah, that General Cannon or Gao Cannon was also very, very impressive. Just because that aerial shot, it looks really, really nice.
Yep.
But then that durability is crazy.
Dude was dang near knocked out by some air, but then pops up like, go Frankie. Right. I see you. Right. Then he comes back and then he shoots back like a missile. Frankie has to tank that, but it kind of destroys the General Frankie Shogun for a little bit. He can't be in it anymore. Then Frankie has to shoot him with a radical beam and it's over.
But see, Lane, this is what I'm saying. So it seems like I really get the sense that Frankie ejected before even impact. Perhaps I'm thinking like he knew something like this was going to happen. He knew, you know, Sasaki was going to target General Frankie and that, you know, he was just a small piece. So he could eject out of there and then catch him in his belly, which he said earlier, you know, your belly is what I was targeting this entire time.
Yep.
The sword swing was too slow. So let me try a light-based attack, which is obviously light speed. And when, you know, are you most vulnerable? Right after you pull off a major attack. That's a
good point.
That's an underlying concept that we've heard in just about every anime ever. Right after you pull off a major attack is when you're most vulnerable. Frankie took advantage of that. So I think that just talks highly of Frankie's battle smarts. And, you know, again, we have that parallel. The artwork is pretty clear. That laser beam looks exactly like Queen's laser beam at the beginning, and the power of this laser beam is serious. Sasaki's been taken out, and one of the numbers got taken out in this arc with that same laser beam. So
if Frankie could get multiple off like Queen,
that's a major upgrade. And at that point, like, yo, pacifistas are obsolete as far as
Yeah,
I'm concerned. I mean,
facts.
they're already obsolete towards the monster trio of the Straw Hats,
But to
but
Frankie too now, it's like it's
Frankie,
over.
yeah, yeah,
Dunskies, we got you out of here because his beam seems stronger than all. Like the only beam that doesn't seem stronger than his is Kizaru. Like other than
yeah,
that, it seems like Frankie's one radical beam is stronger than every other beam I've seen in the show so far.
right,
So if he get to do multiple, Frankie's up there. It's tough. It's like we
yeah,
said, this Straw Hat crew's just getting stronger and stronger. And speaking of the
yep.
crew, how do you feel about Yamato's hybrid? Are you disappointed? I saw a lot of people disappointed.
I'm not disappointed. I'm surprised that it wasn't a tiger. Um, I was really thinking she was going to be the white tiger.
Yeah.
I've seen some mythology. I think people are saying she's a Karen right now. I can see that. And I do vaguely understand some of that mythology. So I'm okay with that. The aesthetic of it, especially the side view, looks fire. I really like that. Just speaking on aesthetics from a design standpoint, I also think that it matches up well with Gear 4. I would love to see Snake Man right next to her with that same, like shoulder smoke looking flame
And if she's
aesthetic.
a Kieran, we can substitute Momo for her because they say
Right,
Kierans can do stuff with clouds too. So
right.
maybe Yamato's job is to save Wano from getting crushed from Onigashima and Zorro and Luffy take over. And maybe
Yeah,
Momo helps her. I can see something along those lines of that happening if that's what she is.
I can see that too. I'm also very curious because it's like, okay, at this point, you could say that Yamato's horns are a byproduct of her devil fruit, the same way that Kaido's horns may be a byproduct of his devil fruit. So the fact that they both have horns may not point out that they are of some other origin.
In some other race, yeah.
So that's also interesting. Kaido may legitimately be purely human who ate, his devil fruit.
Also, instant power scaling of Yamato because Kaido did not go into hybrid with the samurai who are said to all be over Toby Roppo level.
Again, we've discussed that. That's just because Oda didn't want to ruin a surprise,
True.
as far as I'm concerned.
True,
Because
but I'm
he
just
didn't
saying
go
Kaido's in hybrid
Odin.
against Yamato 1v1. Like Luffy's the only person who's seen this.
Kaido didn't go hybrid against Odin on screen, so no.
Now that's definitely because we couldn't see it.
Yeah. So I don't put too much stock into that. What I do put stock into is, again, we see, obviously a clash in that panel where Kaido says, "I recognize your value as a soldier, Yamato." We don't really see very many close-ups of Kaido. Like, I can zoom in, but I'm not really seeing any damage where,
yeah.
Yamato's obviously damaged. Kaido's
Breathing
not
heavy.
doing much talking. And when you compare his compliments to his compliments of Luffy, Zorro, Law, Kid, Killer, it's distinctly different. Like in this scenario, it's in bold that he says as a soldier, which is very demeaning and condescending in this sense, where he's saying like, yeah, you're good. You'd probably fit in well as a rank and file soldier, probably like, it's almost like he's saying like you're gifter level. Like, yeah, you have potential, but you're nothing special. And it's like, okay, well, she one-shotted Ulti earlier. Of course, Ulti got back up, and that wasn't Ulti's most powerful form, but nor was that Yamato's most powerful form.
No
Nor
gifter
do
could
I even think
go toe to
Yamato was
toe
really
with Kaido
trying.
and stand still. So like, let's be
Right.
real. Sasuke's getting knocked out from Kaido in hybrid mode. Like all them dudes get knocked out. Yamato gotta be at least Queen, King, and Jack level at least.
Yeah. I mean, without a doubt, Yamato. I mean, we already speculated Yamato had to be commander level because of her fighting with Ace. And then, of course, holding off Kaido until Luffy gets back. is
That's a
you
big
got to
feat.
at least be a commander. You got to be king or queen level to face off with Kaido. So obviously she's up there, but it's like if she's king, queen level, we know that Kaido cares and shows high regard for strong people, the same way that he supported Jack, where he said, Jack, you're not weak. You know, these Sulong minks are literally that strong. That's why I wanted to recruit Ashura Doji and Denjiro. They're legit up there. So I'm a little bit thrown off at why, you know, Kaido says, I see your value as a soldier.
Yeah, why you denigrating Yamato when you respect power. Yeah, good point. Good point.
And, you know, I don't know if that's something to do with, you know, a parent-child dynamic where maybe even Kaido, who, you know, we see as this warmonger, still like, well, I don't want you on the front lines because I do care. So I want you to be in a place where I know you'll always thrive.
And he might think Yamato should be stronger. That could be another portion of it too.
It could be that. It could be that.
But flashback incoming. It's coming.
Yeah.
At minimum, all right, this is how I'm going with it. We get Robin Brooke.
Yeah.
Next, for sure.
Yeah.
I think after that, you could maybe go Sanji Queen or Marco King. I think you get Luffy up, like up, Zorro up. And then as they're going there, that's when we get Yamato Kaido flashback.
Yeah.
And then I think after flashback, you finish Queen Sanji or King Marco and then get into the Zorro Luffy fight, what they're going to do.
Look, as a continuation of that thought, honestly, even though this is backwards, I would rather get Marco King first and then Sanji Queen, because, you know, I think, like I said before, Marco right here is going to be, like he was in Marineford, a vehicle to show us some flexing. And by showing us what a top tier can do by flexing, we can then judge Sanji and his growth. Because I've said this before and I'll keep saying, I know that Sanji's a complex character and he's a nuanced character, which is why Whole Cake Island was more story and emotionally based than it was fighting based if you're not Luffy. Because I mean, obviously Luffy versus Katakuri was, you know, Meathead Central. But Sanji's story lacked like at a startling level, lacked combat. Like, you know, he should have beat Judge and his brothers, but he held back due to extenuating circumstances, so like the clones and whatnot, and him just getting caught in emotion. He doesn't perform well during the wedding per se, or helping Luffy escape after Katakuri, because again, his emotional state is in shambles. You know, he gets to Wano, he gets distracted by, you know, his prostitutes and whatnot. We have that whole issue with Black Maria, which of course we understand because, you know, we don't expect him to hit women. But as I've said time and time again, he beat all the men, but still got captured. So I feel like in a lot of ways, Oda has been fleshing out the nuanced aspects of Sanji and his growth.
Time to show the badassness.
So that he can say, okay, I've developed him. Now, you know, I can kind of say, okay, here, this is what the rest of Sanji's character is, this badass fighter. Y'all have been waiting for it for forever. You know, here it is. And we get, you know, vibes back to Eni's lobby where, you know, he pulls out Diable Jambe. He's going to probably pull out something that's going to look excellent. And we have Marco versus King as a guide to see, like, okay, here's Sanji doing Marco level crap. You know what I mean? Like, Marco probably does something where he speed blitzes and, you know, I don't know, he does like an after image. And then we see Sanji is doing the same thing. And we're like, oh, okay, he's moving at, you know, whatever speeds. So that's kind of what my hope is. Go ahead and just give us, let all of the Straw Hats eat, and every other character, let's be honest, are not the main characters. They're not the main crew. So Marco versus King, then Sanji versus Queen for me. Also, it makes more sense for that flashback because I do expect some more flashback for Sanji. I mean, we still didn't get enough of Germa, in my opinion. So some information about what Queen and Judge were working on. Even if it's just a couple more breadcrumbs for Vegapunk.
Yeah.
Because we get that in small bits. Frankie got a little bit. Then Caesar gets introduced, and we know that he's related. We know Kuma's related to this. I have no doubt that Judge is related to Vegapunk in some way. Queen should be related to Vegapunk in some way. So Vegapunk is obviously an in-game scientist. So these breadcrumbs, that's my hope for it. And
Same.
It makes sense again. Flashback as Zorro and Sanji are walking up the staircase to get back. Makes sense for Yamato. The
only thing I don't know is where
know.
Big Mom and Kid in Law fall, because that has to fall somewhere. Just don't know where that falls. That's the only one I can't place.
I don't know either. I was 50-50 with Big Mom being taken down in this arc or continuing on the Elbaf. I'm really starting to get Elbaf vibes a lot stronger now. So I feel like there's going to be some kind of late exit. We're going to get some clashes.
You still like my Blackbeard theory, huh? Get her out of here.
Blackbeard, I mean, it only makes sense. Blackbeard, that's what he does. Big Mom, for the most part, and Kaido, to my knowledge, have just about never left.
They just chilled. They sat on their laurels.
They're chill.
Yeah,
so
they didn't do nothing.
Kaido was going to come to Marineford, but Shanks convinced him to stay.
Shanks stopped him.
Big Mom, to my knowledge, always sends out other people. So this is the only time for Blackbeard to take over. And Blackbeard knows Big Mom is here. So that makes sense. And Big Mom's story ending in Elbaf makes more sense. So if we don't get, like a title card chapter of, like Law and Kid versus Big Mom, I'm okay with that. If we get intermittent sprinkles of it, and then Big Mom, whatever she was talking about with Pero, Sparrow, and Marco comes into play, or if her crew shows up and they escape, or she sees that, Kaido gets defeated by Luffy and Zoro while she's still facing off with Law and Kid, then she might be like, okay, it's time to pull out.
It's time to dip.
It's time to dip. Because again, I mean, how in the world is her crew supposed to be relevant at this point? How?
I don't know.
They can't be, except to get out of there.
Yeah.
The ship represents her leaving. So the next time we see that ship, she should be leaving.
I don't see them doing anything. That's why we got to make a separate video, because there's going to be a break next week. And I want to do this where we discuss how much longer do we honestly think Wano is, because there's two pathways of looking at this. There's the pathway of when we do see her crew, they fight and like more people come. Everybody still has the anticipation. More people are coming. More people are coming. At this point, I think we're set. And I'm on pathway number 2 that Wano may be ending soon. Not
Wano
not soon,
ending soon,
but you know what I mean when I say that.
I still think there's plenty of story beats to go. Like, we still, for some reason or another, Onigashima is still floating in the air. So that still has to somehow come back down, and we still got to deal with the repercussions of Onigashima falling. There's still plenty of Zorro context to go. So I believe there should be a Zorro flashback at some point. I believe he's a Shimotsky or related in some way, shape, or form that needs to be fulfilled, along with the Onimaru/Gukimaru Ryuma context, along with Nidai Kitetsu as a follow-up to Sandai Kitetsu with Hitetsu, the swordsmith. So you still have all of that to go. You still have the sun god and Luffy's representation as Buddha to play out.
And whatever with Joy Boy.
We've got, the big fight. We've got the opening of Wano and its borders.
Whatever X Drake's going to do with Sword.
Whatever X Drake's. So it's like, how much more of the
The war is what I'm
pinnacle
saying.
climax of Onigashima are we gonna have versus how much of Wano is left? To me, it's
That's a
two
good
separate
point.
questions. But I don't know. I don't know how it's going to get
Save whatever you
stretched
think.
out much
We'll
longer.
make a video for him for next week because there's no chapter, and this is something I'm glad you said it's two separate questions because we'll break into that and dive into that because that's a good point because there is everything that has to happen after this fight, but how much more of the fight is there left is basically what I'm asking. Like, I'm of the mind state that Luffy's gonna beat Kaido this next time he gets up there. There's no way Luffy loses again and Kaido doesn't kill him. Like, it makes no sense. Like Kaido said last time, I should have cut his head off instead of hitting him off. So if you fight him again and he loses, either that's the end of One Piece or Luffy wins. Like, it makes so. So if this is the last time Luffy fights Kaido, then how much more really is there of Onigashima?
No, I mean, Kaido has to go down. I mean, at this point, every faction that should have touched Kaido has effectively touched Kaido. Like, we have the Red Scabbards had their attempt. Luffy and all the Supernova who are relevant, touched down on Kaido. Yamato has now clashed with Kaido. At this point, next time Luffy shows up, it's that trope of Luffy, if he loses to an opponent, the next, he may lose a couple of times, but this is that last time. It doesn't make sense for him to lose again.
Exactly. That's my thing. It's flashback time for Kaido.
Yeah, it's flashback time. It's time for Rayleigh, Mihawk, Kaido flashbacks to start kicking in. It's time for secret techniques to start getting used. So if Gear 5th is a thing, it's gonna happen.
It's time.
If Luffy's gonna start using Conqueror's coding in Gear 4, it's not Gear 5th, it's about to happen because we already saw him boxing Kaido in base, so he's not about to go up there and use base again. If we're gonna get a Mihawk flashback for Zorro or some shit, that's about to happen.
It's time.
Like, it's time. There's no question about it. Luffy's using Gear 4, Zorro used Azura. What else is there? Like,
it's time to surpass your limits. Go to the next step. Yo, you're right. That's what I'm saying. Like, they can't lose again. It's time to win. So that's why I want to know how much longer we think is left. But that's all really we got for this chapter. That's pretty much it. Like I said, there's a lot to extrapolate on outside of the chapter, but inside the chapter, cool Frankie fight. Thought it was dope. Shout out to Sasaki. You're in the dirt. You're out of here later. My Kuroku Rose theory about Eni's lobby. Put in the dirt. Put that theory in the dirt. Hopefully in an SBS, Oda's like, yeah, that was her son. Like that. I feel like that's the only place we'll see that at.
It's probably going to be addressed in an SBS, and then there may be some way that Oda involves that at some other point. Like Sasaki just randomly shows up
back home,
something like, I don't know.
But other than that, if that's not it, we're not getting that.
Yeah. It doesn't seem, Oda doesn't seem to be thinking that that's an important enough story beat to mention.
The Toby Ropo that mattered was who's who. That's why his fight was first.
Yeah.
Everyone else don't really.
Who's who and Drake are the ones that matter.
Yeah, facts, 100%. But Christian, tell the people where they can follow you on social media.
Twitter is Hollander94 or Design Season LLC, and the same for Instagram, Design Season LLC.
Y'all make sure y'all go follow Christian, check out his artwork, and hit him up to do some quality pieces for you. But you guys can follow me at LinBWT, follow Bros Who Think at Bros Who Think. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube. Like I said, we're going to make that How Much Longer Do We Think Wano Is video, because we're going to be on break next week. But other than that, check out all the content on the YouTube. But until next time, have a good one. Peace.
Peace.